Hi, I'm Jody Wissing for CreativePro, and in this video, we're going to look at how to create housekeeping slides that won't clean your house, but they will clear the way for a great presentation. Every presentation has a few things your audience needs to know to have the best possible experience. When to ask questions, how to interact during the presentation, and will they get a handout? But let's be honest, housekeeping? Who thought that was a good idea? Is there anyone here that likes cleaning the house? No, of course we don't. So why do we use that term? AI doesn't even know where the term originated. It just evolved as housekeeping announcements and became the catch-all phrase for logistics. But let's be real. No one wants to start a presentation feeling like they're about to scrub a toilet. We need these slides, but we can just present them in a way that doesn't look, sound, or feel like housekeeping at all. Let's do a slide makeover and tidy them up, and they won't even know that they've been housekept. And a quick note to have the best possible experience with slide makeovers. There's more than one right way, and this is just one approach. Additionally, a slide makeover for one slide often means we'll end up with multiple slides, as we want the content to dictate the number of slides we use. Here we go. Here's a typical housekeeping slide with the things the audience needs to know. The first thing we want to do is place our content on our branded template. And in this case, we have a housekeeping slide layout. I'm always a fan of visualizing with related images, so I added a funny image of a woman doing housekeeping chores. Or we could change it to a guy. Here's another direction, using a realistic image of someone cleaning. The issue here is that any housekeeping image is going to make people remember, well, housekeeping. We don't want people to remember the housekeeping label. We want them to remember the important information. Let's go back to the icon version. The info is very useful, and if you were to describe it, it's the things your audience needs to know to have a great experience. Simply renaming it from housekeeping can make a huge difference. We could call it what it is, things you need to know. Or maybe we call it an experience guide. That makes more sense, but now the icon doesn't really work here. Let's use an image instead. I like this a lot better. And I like to do one more thing here. Bullet points aren't wrong, but I prefer to take them off. Since each point is on a separate line, they're easy to read without the points. Bye-bye, bullets. This is a pretty quick fix for your housekeeping slides. We still have some time, so let's take it a step further. Let's divide these into separate slides. Why? Because each point should have its own slide, focusing on what's being said at the time it's being said. Here we have the session recording, then the Q&A info, and then the handout information. And because these are on separate slides, we can add other things without creating a long list. Here I added a slide about muting people's mics to avoid distractions. And that brings up a good point. The purpose of housekeeping slides is to allow people to have the best experience, which means keeping them focused. Distractions take your audience out of the experience. If there's something that doesn't make sense or they have a question about how to interact during your presentation or what will be provided after, those are distractions we can avoid. Here's an example. I was doing a webinar training that I had scheduled way in advance. And I had also scheduled a repair on my travel trailer, which also had to be done way in advance. This was my office for the day. If people saw this in the background, they're likely wondering where I am and trying to figure out why I'm in this strange place doing a webinar. I turned this into an opportunity to tie in with my adventure theme and gave a quick tour of a new Airstream. It only took 2 minutes, and they had no idea they were getting some housekeeping info. I also worked it into my introduction by using an adventure headshot. I also introduced my coworker who was going to be collecting questions from the chat during the training and curating them at the end for the Q&A. I've also used this technique when doing online sessions from my home office. It's because they'll likely see my coworkers who love to video bomb me during meetings. Let's look at some examples of housekeeping slides that don't look like housekeeping slides at all. Here's a client example where we wanted people to interact and have fun during the session. And this was a gathering in Texas, thus the Cowboy Texas theme. Here's a great example of a discussion group and how it will work. It would have a different vibe if we called it housekeeping. This is a set of slides that's themed to tie in with an action movie mission theme. Instead of housekeeping, we have mission briefing. This will be added to our presentation library. And here we're showing an image of the actual handout, giving them a little bit better idea of what to expect. And then they can download it. And finally, the Q&A. Now let's look at the makeover side by side. Here's a quick makeover. Adding a branded layout and visualizing the content in a clear and simple way makes this easier to understand. Then breaking it into separate slides allows us to use the things we need and keeps the content focused and fresh. This also helps when you have many things to avoid long lists. Here we worked it into an opening story and avoided a big distraction. There are many ways to work your important things to know into your presentation. Your introduction slides can be more than just your name and title. Theming your information slides is a wonderful way to tie everything together. By separating the information and creating individual slides, the important details are effectively integrated into your presentation and worked into your overall narrative. Did y'all notice I started this presentation with 2 of my own housekeeping slides? The more than one right way, and the info about multiple slides. Think of it this way. You're not scrubbing floors, you're setting the stage. And that's the kind of housekeeping people actually like and appreciate. Next time you present, leave the housekeeping to the pros and show your audience how to have the best possible experience with your presentation.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to our channel. And for thousands more how-to articles and tutorials, visit our website, CreativePro.com, and become a member today. Thanks for learning with us.